You wake up before sunrise. Not because you have to, because someone has already decided that for you. In ancient Rome, the wealthiest men in the world, senators, generals, bankers with fortunes that would dwarf modern billionaires, started every single day the same way, surrounded by strangers asking for things. The bedroom door opened at dawn, and the crowd was already waiting. This is a day in the life of a Roman aristocrat, and almost nothing about it will match what you imagine. The first ritual is called the Salutatio. Before you have eaten, before you have spoken a full sentence, the atrium of your home fills with clients, tradesmen, freedmen, soldiers, poets, lesser nobles, all of whom have come to greet you, to be seen by you, to ask a favor. You are not their friend, you are their patron, and this distinction is everything in Rome. Historian Richard Saller, whose work on Roman patronage at Cambridge reshaped how scholars understand the entire social structure of the Republic and Empire, showed that this system wasn't incidental to Roman power, it was the skeleton it ran on. Every man above you has clients. Every man below you is one. You are both, simultaneously, every morning. You do not eat breakfast, not really. A piece of bread dipped in olive oil, maybe some cheese, olives, a fig if the season is right. The Romans thought a heavy morning meal made the mind slow. They were not wrong. The body uses enormous energy digesting food. Ancient intuition later confirmed. By mid-morning, you are in the forum. This is where your actual work happens, not in an office, not behind a desk. Rome had no separation between social life and professional life. The Forum Romanum, that open stone plaza at the heart of the city, was simultaneously the stock exchange, the law court, the political arena, and the place where you ran into your enemies and pretended to like them. Archaeologists have mapped the Forum so precisely that we know approximately where men of different social ranks tended to congregate. The rich stayed near the rostra, the great speaker's platform. Proximity to power was itself a form of power. You are pleading a legal case today, or you were watching someone else plead one. Roman law was public theater. Cicero, the most famous advocate in Roman history, understood this completely. His courtroom speeches were designed as much for the crowd as for the judges. He once successfully defended a man partly by making the jury laugh at the prosecution's witnesses. Rhetoric was a survival skill. The ability to speak well in public was, in the Roman world, roughly equivalent to what coding skills are in ours. If you had it, doors opened. If you lacked it, you were dependent on those who did. By early afternoon, you have fulfilled your public obligations. Now something happens that would seem extraordinary to you living in the 21st century. The entire city stops. The Romans called it the meridiatio, the midday rest. Shops closed, courts adjourned. The streets, which had been roaring with carts and vendors and arguments since before dawn, Rome banned wheeled vehicles during daylight hours to reduce congestion, which meant the nights were deafeningly loud, went quiet. You returned home. You slept. Not because you were lazy, because you understood something about the body that the modern world has spent a century trying to unlearn. Sustained performance requires deliberate recovery. Matthew Walker, the neuroscientist at UC Berkeley, whose research on sleep has become foundational in the field, found that even a short midday nap measurably restores cognitive sharpness. The Romans built this into law, into architecture, into the rhythm of the day itself. You wake from the meridiatio, and the afternoon opens differently, lighter. This is when you go to the baths. The thermae were not a luxury, they were infrastructure. The baths of Caracalla, completed in 216 AD, could hold over 1,000 bathers at once, and were free, or nearly free, subsidized by the emperor. You moved through a sequence of rooms, the frigidarium, cold water, the tepidarium, warm, the caldarium, hot steam. But you were not simply bathing, you were conducting business, recruiting allies, negotiating marriages, settling debts. Historian Garrett Fagan, in his exhaustive study of Roman bathing culture, documented how the baths functioned as the informal parliament of Roman social life. Decisions that shaped provinces were made in rooms that smelled of sulfur and olive oil. Picture this moment. You are in the caldarium. Steam rising from the pool, the sound of voices echoing off marble, a slave waiting at the edge with a strigil, a curved metal scraper. to remove the sweat and oil from your skin, because the Romans did not use soap in the way we understand it. A senator you have been trying to reach for 3 weeks is directly across the water. No guards, no secretaries, no appointment needed. Just 2 men in a hot room. You say what you came to say. He nods. The deal is done. No record, no contract. Just the word of 2 men whose reputations are the only collateral Rome recognizes. Now here's the thing that should stop you. You are wealthy, powerful. Your name is known. You have won court cases, navigated the patronage system, spent your afternoon in marble baths negotiating with senators. And yet, you do not own your time. Not really. The Roman aristocrat's life was, at its core, a performance of availability. Every hour was owed to someone. The Salutatio in the morning, the forum at midday, the baths in the afternoon, the dinner party, the cena, in the evening, which lasted for hours, sometimes until midnight, and which you could not decline without giving offense. Roman philosopher Seneca, writing in the 1st century AD, was furious about this. He wrote in his letters that the truly rich man is not the one with the most money, but the one who has recovered his time. He was describing his own life, a life in which the wealth was staggering and the freedom was, in some essential way, missing. The cena begins at sundown. 9 guests reclining on couches arranged in a U-shape, the triclinium. Dishes arriving in waves, not for nutrition but for display. Garum, the fermented fish sauce that was to Romans what salt is to us, poured over everything. Wine mixed with water, because drinking it straight was considered barbaric, something the northern tribes did. Conversation ranging from philosophy to gossip to poetry recited from memory. And underneath all of it, the constant calibration. Who has moved up? Who has fallen? Whose son married well? Whose patron is losing influence at court? This is the structure you were born into and cannot escape, even at dinner, even in pleasure. You go to bed late. Tomorrow the door opens again at dawn. Here's what's strange. You spend most of your waking life performing for other people's approval, inside a social hierarchy that determines every meaningful outcome in your existence. You are wealthy beyond measure, and yet you are not, by Seneca's definition, free. And reading all of this, the Salutatio, the forum, the baths, the cena, you might feel a faint recognition. The meetings that weren't really optional, the appearances you maintained, the careful calibration of who to be seen with, and when, and how. The sense that your time is structured around what others need from you before you get to what you actually wanted to do. 2,000 years separate you from that atrium. The marble is gone, the slaves are gone, the empire is gone. But the door still opens at dawn, and the crowd is already waiting.